All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, Errol Spence Jr. is moving to 154 pounds to avoid Terence Crawford. That is the prediction of a certain Mr. Eddie Hearn. Let's talk about that in this video. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. Before I get into the meat of the video though, please make sure you hit the like button, share button, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really does help the channel grow. All right, man, we back talking about the welterweight division. Not a lot going on in this week in boxing, really. So, conversations like this, hey man, it's what we have. Eddie Hearn, who is the promoter for who runs Matchroom Boxing out of the UK, adds his 2 cents to the what he believes is going to happen in the welterweight division. And I got to tell you, man, I think that he may have a point. Not much of a point, but a little bit of a point. But let's go over what he said. We're talking about Errol Spence Jr. Well, first of all, he was talking about Terence Crawford. And people, because he is at this convention in Dubai. Terence Crawford is at a convention in Dubai. So they were asking him what he thought about Terence Crawford and Terence Crawford's career going forward. And he was very, very bleak about Terence Crawford's career. Now, if you're not familiar, Terence Crawford was with Top Rank, but he's no longer with Top Rank. And nobody else that I know of, other than what I heard about the PBC being willing to work with him, is actually in a hurry to work with Terence Crawford. Bob Arum says he wants to deal with him on a fight-by-fight basis. Eddie Hearn is saying that he doesn't think he has any fights for him at all. And then so today he even goes even further and says that he really believes that Terence Crawford isn't even going to get the Errol Spence Jr. fight. According to Eddie Hearn, he believes that Errol Spence Jr. is going to move up to 154 pounds specifically to avoid Terence Crawford. Or what he said was, he's like, well, I don't want to be too harsh and say avoid, strategically avoid. Man, what is the difference between avoid and strategically avoid? I have no clue, but that's what his prediction is for Errol Spence Jr. and what Errol Spence Jr. is going to do next. Now, this is why I'm telling you that there's a chance that he has a point. Errol Spence Jr. has been at 147 pounds for a long time. And I do believe that the next step for Errol Spence Jr. from the PBC's point of view was for him to fight Yordenis Ugas. But now that Yordenis Ugas is not going to be available for him to fight at least 2023, that means that the undisputed title is not going to be available for him to get until at least 2023. And I'm not sure if Errol Spence Jr. has any plans on being at 147 pounds that long. As many people, some people know, not a lot of people know, Errol Spence Jr. is what you call a very big 147 pounder. He has to come down in weight in order to make 147 pounds. And he had originally started, I'm not sure how many fights it was, but in the early part of his career, he was actually fighting at 154 pounds, which is not unusual. The same thing was applied to Terence Crawford, where in his very first part of his career, he started fighting at 140 pounds, but once he started competing for, a world title, got into ratings high enough, or got to the situation or developed enough to fight for, the top contenders, he came down in weight, started doing the weight cuts, and decided to try to fight for a belt at 135. So Errol Spence Jr. did that at 154, moved down to 147. Same thing that Sean Porter did. I also think Keith Thurman did. It's not something that is unusual, but Errol Spence Jr., I do believe, is somebody that is and probably could benefit from moving to 154 pounds. So if Terence Crawford were not to agree to a reasonable purse for Errol Spence Jr., and he wasn't able to secure the other unification fight before too long, I could see him moving up to 154 pounds. But do I think that that's going to happen? No, I do not. First of all, and I don't believe that's going to happen for several reasons. First of all, Jermell Charlo and Brian Castano are there. And I do believe around the February timeframe, January, February timeframe, they're going to fight for the undisputed, a rematch for the undisputed title at 154 pounds. And that would mean that after that fight, either Brian Castano was going to have all those belts or Jermell Charlo was going to have those belts. Now, if it winds up being that Brian Castano has the belts, I could see Errol Spence Jr. moving up and getting a shot immediately with Brian Castano for the undisputed title at 154 pounds, fight at a weight class that is probably a little bit better and more, more comfortable for him, and a weight class where he probably could come into the fight at full strength, something that I do not know or do not believe that he's doing right now at 147 pounds with the weight cut that he has to take. If you listen to what Terence Crawford talks about how strong he is and you see how many knockouts he's getting at 140 and 147 pounds versus what he was getting at 135, you can kind of tell where this comes into play. If you do not have to have a weight cut, you can actually carry the power that you have in your training actually into the ring. That's something that somebody else has said. I can't remember who said it, but they also advised, they were like talking about Devin Haney and how Devin Haney's not getting knockouts at the top level at 135. And they're like, he's probably leaving a lot of his power in the gym. So if he's able to actually, keep hydrated, to a greater extent, the day before the fight, the several days before the fight, when he gets into the ring, without having to do that weight cut, Devin Haney will probably be carrying more power at 140 than he was carrying at 135. Same thing would probably apply for Errol Spence Jr. at 147 or 154. But also, if Errol was, and I will say this, if Errol Spence Jr. was to move to 154 pounds and become undisputed at 154 pounds, I don't think that there's anything keeping him from fighting Terence Crawford if Terence Crawford moved up to 154 pounds. And I would suspect at a certain point in time that Terence Crawford will move up to 154 pounds as well. He hinted around about that and saying, hey, man, if I don't get the Errol Spence Jr. fight, I may be able to move up to 154 pounds myself, because he probably could carry the weight and still be very, very agile, but yet strong at 154 pounds as well. Now, what do I actually believe is happening? What I believe is going to happen is that they're probably going to have Errol Spence Jr. fight one fight, then more than likely fight the Terence Crawford fight after that, provided Terence Crawford has had, maybe he takes a Keith Thurman fight to get the pay-per-view numbers where he can get enough publicity and the fight can get enough publicity to pay well. That's what I think will happen. But I'm telling you, man, with the pay-per-views of Terence Crawford and his insistence on getting 50-50, if he doesn't agree to like the 60-40 that Errol Spence Jr. has said in the public that he's willing to take, that's a barrier to the fight. But as far as what Eddie Hearn is saying about Errol Spence Jr. moving up 54 to 154 just to avoid Terence Crawford, man, there's nothing stopping Errol Spence Jr. from staying right there at 147 and not fighting Terence Crawford. He doesn't have to move up a weight class not to fight somebody. If Terence Crawford, if Eddie Hearn didn't realize that off of Canelo Alvarez will stay right in the weight class and not fight the best guys in the weight class. Nothing would stop Errol Spence Jr. from doing that if he did not want to have that fight. Whole bunch of guys didn't fight Gary Russell Jr. at his weight class. Anthony Joshua stayed in that weight class and did not fight Deontay Wilder. So I don't think he would be moving up to 154 to duck him. But I do believe that his move to 154 probably is inevitable. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. But, as far as Eddie Hearn saying that, Eddie Hearn is pure hater on the PBC. I don't like to call people haters, but, pretty much in any negative spin he can give to somebody in the PBC, that's what he's given to him, and it is what it is. But you let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.